Hey out there, it's JR again. So yeah, it's Wednesday. This will be a little touch point. I'm hoping to do videos like every Wednesday and Friday. So I'm working on some stuff in the background here, some different content. I'm actually going to be doing or making an attempt to do my first demo video. It's going to be for MLC amps. They're out of Poland. More information to follow. I'll try to put some links when the video comes up. So I'm hoping to have that ready for next Wednesday. This Friday, I'm probably going to, try to do another little, I guess, technique or a little lesson or something, a little blurb, things that I find cool. That's really all it's about. So today, other than touching base, letting everybody know that I'm alive, and hope everybody is doing well, by the way. Really crazy times. Our whole paradigm has shifted exponentially into a totally different area. But one thing I want to touch base about is being in a band. Sometimes being the new guy. Well, often maybe being the new guy or girl. Working with different people, new people. Setting expectations, right? Anywhere from if you're a kid getting together in your first band with your first group of friends and figuring out what you're going to do, to being more experienced or seasoned musicians or semi-pros, weekend warriors that are out there in cover bands every week or making your living, doing weddings, events, corporate events, big club gigs, to original bands, trying to get on the local circuit, making it work. So, one of the most difficult things, but probably the most important thing, is chemistry. The people you work with, the people you're going to be jamming with. It's not always easy. I'd say the first thing for me and the criteria that I use is always, are these people I want to hang around the fire with, having a beverage on a Friday night, just hanging around talking about nothing and everything, are there these people that I would love to hang out with on a regular basis? And then, is it fun playing the music? The hardest thing is managing expectations, especially if you're replacing a member, right? So I've been in quite a few situations where I'm the new guy in the band. I'm replacing a former guitarist who's left for whatever reason, doesn't matter, good or bad or indifferent. And the hardest thing to overcome is expectations. Probably the worst thing that any musician wants to hear is the old person played it differently. We want you to play it like that. Well, music's inherently a personal thing too, whether you're playing it in a group or not. And yeah, you have to play the songs correctly, cover song or not, but each musician's going to play it differently. Even classical musicians are not robots. They have vibrato, they have a distinctive way of doing things. Even if you're in the string section of an orchestra, you're going to have your lead violin, your second violin, your third violin, and they're all going to complement each other. And yes, they're going to play in key with good intonation, with good phrasing, but they all have different touches and they all blend together to make that symphony or that orchestra sound huge and fantastic. And yeah, if we're talking about, say, a rock band where maybe you've got one guitarist, a bassist, drummer, vocalist, whatever. Maybe the vocalist plays guitar a little too. You have to figure a way to play together. So, the advice I would give bands is if you have a new member coming in, look for those personal qualities first, and then the musicianship, and then give them some latitude. Don't be super critical. If there's 12 notes available, right? And on a guitar, there's a half a dozen different ways to play the same note, the same chord. So just because, say in my case, a guitarist doesn't play a chord or a phrase, the best example I can give is this is an E, and this is an E, and this is an E, and they're all E, and they're all correct. So it's just a matter of how it fits into the song and how it blends and what works to your ear and the individual's ear. So be willing to work with each other. Be open-minded to letting people be themselves. And and then I guess the last thing I would say as far as that sort of situation is, even if you're in an amateur band or whatever, try to be professional. Have a professional attitude. There's a lot of great resources and videos out there. Pete Thorn has a bunch on this subject. Tim Pierce does. Rick Beato, Corey Congilio. It just goes on and on. All these guys that have been doing this YouTube thing far longer than I, and likely far better, quite frankly, than I am at this point. They all have great little videos that are really empowering and instructional. There was one I watched by Pete Thorn, and I'm checking off the list of, yeah, I do this, oh shit, I don't do that, maybe I need to incorporate that into my line of thinking or my little routine or whatever. But just about being professional. If you're showing up for an audition and you need to learn 3 songs, you know those 3 songs, right? Be ready as a guitarist to show up and have a curveball thrown at you. Oh, all right, I'm doing the rhythm part more on this tune than the lead. I've made that mistake in the past where I've gone in and I'm like, I prepare all the lead parts and I didn't learn the subsequent rhythm or backup parts because I'm so used to being the lead player. I walked in and I was like, oh, I'm not doing the solo on that song. I didn't know that. And on the fly, I had to kind of figure it out. Didn't go awesome, but it was a good learning experience for me as well. So know both parts. Know as many attributes and parts of the song as you can. Be ready to shift it and play it in a different key if you need to. Make sure that your guitar can accommodate different tunings. If you normally tune to A440 and you show up and we tune down a half step or we tune down a whole step, kind of be ready to accommodate that. Either have something like a Digitech drop pedal on your pedal board so you can on the fly go down a half or a whole step, or make sure your guitar can accommodate tuning down a half step or a whole step if you need to, or have a second guitar with you that can accommodate that. Little things like that to be ready for, and you learn these things over time. Or if you're fortunate enough to watch, whether it's me or one of those other dudes that I mentioned that are awesome, you get input like that. Be ready to just be adaptable and agreeable, and be ready. I showed up for an audition once where I was supposed to learn 3 songs, and then they start rattling off tunes. So, a couple I knew, a bunch I didn't, and basically I said to them, okay, tell me what key it's in, give me an idea of the chords, let's play it through and we'll see what happens. And you kind of adapt on the fly, and then maybe a couple tunes and you can pull that off. So it doesn't hurt to get acquainted with their set list and maybe try to pick out a couple other tunes that maybe you already know, that aren't on the audition, or that you're familiar enough with, you can learn to have in your back pocket if, say, the audition's going well and they're like, hey, do you know any more tunes? You can pull them out. And that goes for anybody, drummer, vocalist, bassist, keyboardist, whatever. Learn the 3, whatever. And then as far as setting expectations, what I learned to do is sometimes people say, hey, I need you to learn 24 songs for an audition. My response usually is, dude, that's not an audition, that's a rehearsal. So am I in the band? Kind of half sarcastically. Because an audition really should be no more than 4 songs, in my opinion. Because regardless of whatever's going on, the fact of the matter is, everybody's got a life. Everybody has other things going on. No matter what point you are in life, even a crazy scenario like what's going on in the world now, everybody has things going on. A day job, a family, some people might be working 2 jobs, so time is precious. So, if somebody wants you to audition with more than 3 or 4 songs, I would say, okay, well, hold on a second. What's the expectation? What's the goal? Because for me, I don't feel comfortable doing more than 3 or 4, because let's say your audition is in a week. That doesn't give you a lot of time really to get them down, because you got to spend maybe a day or 2 learning, depending on how good your ear is and how much time you have and how many reps you can get in. Then maybe another couple days kind of refining them and rehearsing them and cleaning them up. And then maybe a day kind of as a quick review is generally how it goes. Pros that are out there, again, I bring up Pete Thorn as well, and my friend Corey Congilio, is there was one I was watching for Pete Thorn where he was talking about learning songs and getting ready for a job, for a gig, right? But this is not really the audition. This is, he had the gig, so he had to learn a bunch of tunes in a short amount of time for a show, for a tour. And he was talking about his process, and it made a lot of sense. And it applies too for learning tunes. When you're learning songs, and this is not even taking into account the fact that, we've got YouTube videos, we've got tabs online, we've got like Ultimate Guitar as a resource, or Ultimate Tab, or whatever it's called, and so many different avenues now that weren't available when I was younger for learning songs. It does make it easier. However, do you want quality or quantity, right? Because going back to the whole band chemistry thing, I've been in situations too where, I've actually lost gigs because I don't know the same 50 songs that this particular group may know. They maybe know their set is maybe 30 or 40 tunes of X material, so maybe I know, out of that 30 or 40, maybe I know 10 or 15 of those tunes pretty well. But my catalog isn't the same as their catalog, so I have to learn the remaining quantity, and that takes time, and it also takes time to learn what you're playing together as a group. So to the folks that are in bands that are bringing new players in, I would say, be cognizant of that, of the player. If the player's a good fit personality wise, personally, and ability wise, I understand that if you're a working band, you have things, you have commitments and so forth, and you could probably sort that out. But if that's the person you want as your full-time member, be adaptable, be patient. Maybe you condense the sets so you don't have quite the breadth of material that you can cull from temporarily. Work on what you can put together in a reasonable amount of time and do it well at high quality so that the new member can get on board. And then after you start getting on board and they get comfortable, then you start adding, every week, you have them learn 2 or 3 more tunes once they get comfortable. That's reasonable to me, right? Expecting somebody to have 40 or 50 tunes down, that you're setting people up for failure that way. And that's happened as well, and you've got to be cognizant of that, and you've got to be confident in yourself to put that forth. So it goes both ways. You got to be willing to work and adapt, and if you want to commit to a group too, let them know that, hey, listen, if you can do this with me, I'll take the time and I'll get up to speed, but let's focus on what we got and keep working on that. And then when we get comfortable in a couple months and we're gigging and we start getting things together, then, every week I'll work on 2 or 3 more tunes, and we'll start adding those in and rotate them through the set so that everybody can get used to playing them again. So, it can be a hard thing, being a town or a regional or any kind of a local musician, or even, a big pro musician. I'm sure they'll be the first ones to tell you that they go through similar things. We all go through this stuff no matter what level you're at, if you're making money or you're not, or if you're a kid. Lessons learned are be patient, be practical, be upfront with people. If you're auditioning, be professional. And, if you're the band, be professional too. If you tell a person to show up at 8 o'clock, don't leave that person waiting to 8:15 before you're there to open up your rehearsal space and get going, right? Be respectful of people's time. It goes both ways. And I'm saying this to everybody, whether you're the band or you're the musician. Got to work together. You can't, nobody is so huge that they can't afford to be pleasant to people, or respectful of their time. That's a really important thing as well. So I'll leave you all with that for this Wednesday. Friday, there will be a video as well. Probably for late Friday night, I'll put something out. And then I've got some content I'm working for over the weekend that I'll be putting out there next week. So I'm hoping to have 2 videos a week at least. Maybe more if things start going well with this channel. So I'll post some links to those videos I mentioned from, say, Tim Pierce and Pete Thorn and Beato and Congilio and those people that you might find useful as well as reference. And hopefully these little tidbits are helpful to people, and this is part of what I'm trying to do, build up the channel as kind of a community endeavor, community, I can't even talk today, community endeavor, to help everybody out, because that's really what this is about. So hey, best wishes to everybody. Stay safe, be cool, play a lot of guitar, play a lot of music, spend time with your family, and try to use Zoom appropriately if you can. Later.